Okay, so here we want to take a look at how to actually create graphics, and we are in Code Sculptor. And if you haven't watched the video on what Code Sculptor is, you're definitely going to want to watch that, or you'll be kind of confused. First of all, just for my own sake, I find Code Sculptor to be a little bit small, so when I'm typing, you may want to see things a little clearer, so I'll just zoom in a little bit on it. You certainly don't have to do that. Um, And the other thing is, I'm going to be assuming that your size is the same as mine down here, 800 by 600 when I draw things. So, to understand how to draw things on the screen, you just have to understand a couple quick things about graphics, which is our screens are made up of what they call pixels, which are actually short for picture elements. And every single thing you see on this screen is made up of a tiny little dot on your screen. And if you zoom in enough, sometimes you can start getting individual pixels. It works better in a program like Photoshop, where you can start seeing how small the pixels are. But imagine that, like, even this has many different like dots in it, right? And so you have to figure out, and I don't even know what size the dots are, but when we draw things on the screen, they're made up of pixels. And the other thing you have to know when you draw things on the screen is that it uses X and Y coordinates, right? So you go back to math class and you think to yourself, oh, if I want to put something on the screen, I have to tell it how far over I want to put it, and then, which would be the horizontal plane, how far horizontally do I want to put something, and then where do I want to put it on the vertical plane. Now, the one thing I want to explain to you that is important is that a screen works almost as if you are familiar with this idea in geometry, it works as if it's in quadrant 4, which means the 0, 0 is the top left part of your screen. So up here, if I was to point up here, this is 0, 0. And then if I said my screen was 800 by 600, 800 is all the way over to this side, 600 is all the way down here. So I can draw anything from the 0, 0 point in the top left to the 800, 600 point on the bottom right. So let's try to do that. Okay, I'm going to draw stuff here. Here's the command for drawing a single pixel, which we won't do very often, but it's a good thing to do to start out. And so we could say draw point. And let's just say I want to draw something at point 1, comma 1. So basically the corner, but I'm afraid if I do 0, 0, it might not show up. So you say canvas. All of these commands are going to start with canvas dot, because it's like I want to draw this point onto the canvas that I've created. And then it's a function, so it gets a parentheses. And then the X and Y coordinates that I want get a parentheses. Then I say comma, and I say what color would I like to draw that pixel. And then of course I end the parentheses here. So that's all you need. You can hit run. And if I zoom up enough, you can see, sure enough, that is a yellow pixel right there at position 1 over, 1 down. So that's how big they are. It almost seems like it's too small considering how much space is around it. But let's just see what happens if I do position 0, 0. Now when I zoom up, so you can see it's really, position 0, 0 actually still has a little bit of black space around it, which is interesting. But there's position 0, 0. So I'm going to close that and keep this zoomed in a little bit for typing purposes. So that's a point. But, imagine trying to draw a video, a graphic where you set every single point's pixels to be what you want them to be. So that is not going to work too well. So better than that would be as if we could draw maybe a line. So draw a line. And so I'm going to say to myself, oh, I see the logic here. I give it, a line would have 2 points, the beginning point and the end point. So what if I want to start at point 5 over 10 down, and I want to draw to point 500 over 100 down? So it's kind of starting up here and then going 500 over and 100 down to here, right? So you can try to picture as you're making these things up in your head what it's going to look like. So here I had to tell it what color, so probably I need to tell it what color I want it to be. I'll talk about a little bit about colors, but colors are, as you can see with the quotes, colors are strings, and the rest of them are integers. So I hit play, and I get an error. Well, come on, draw a line. Seems like this would make sense. And it tells me I need 5 things, and I've only told it 4 things. And I could count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I gave it 5 things. What is this thing talking about? So, but it's actually the things between the commas. So here's point 1, point 2, point 3. I actually only gave it 3 things, so I still don't know exactly what it's talking about. But if I'm confused, let me zoom back out. There it is. I want to show you these things. I can go to the docs. I could click on this, and when I go to documents, it will load in a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't have closed the one that I already had open. Doesn't usually take that long. And there's a bunch of things, some things just about how Python works if you want to learn some more about Python, or Python like Booleans or other things that you can do in Python. But we're going to go to graphics modules, and then we're going to go to the canvas. And it's going to tell us how we can use the canvas to do some drawing. So here's the canvas draw point. Here's the canvas draw line. And when I say I want to draw a line, it gives me, I have to give it the starting point. And if you, actually you can read it right here. It needs a point 1. It needs a point 2. It needs a width of the line to draw, and then it needs the color. So I missed that middle one right there where I had to tell it the number of how wide would I like my thing to be. So let's just say I say, okay, I want a 20 pixel wide line. What's that going to look like? So then I can run that, and I get, I said it was going to be from up here in this corner to down here in this corner. Now, 20 pixels is kind of a thick line, so that's kind of awkward. So maybe I change it back down to 5. So again, starting at this point, going to this point, this thick, and this color. So I run it, and there's a nice little line. So you can imagine then you could fill your screen with lines, and that would be cool. But of course, we're not done yet. If you looked at that documentation, you may have seen other things that can happen. It can draw arcs. I've actually never tried that. Well, I did once, but it's a little confusing. The one that's kind of easy to imagine is a circle. So let's just take a quick look in the documentation. To draw a circle in math, the way you draw a circle is you need 1 point, and that's the center of the circle. So imagine you're using a compass. It's like that. Like, where do you stick your compass? And then what's the radius? How big do you draw the circle around that point? And then you need a width of the line, and you need a line color. And then we'll talk about the fill color as well in just a second. So we go over here and we say, okay, I've got my draw circle, and then I need to draw circles. So let's just say, well, the center of the whole screen would be 400, 300, right? Because half of 800, half of 600. So that seems rather cool. I want the radius to be, maybe 100 pixels. I want the thickness of the line, let's stick with 5. And I want the color of my circle to be green. So then I run that, and there we have it. A circle that is green with a thickness of a line of 5. Now, the one thing said you could also add a fill color. So if I put 2 colors on here, then what it does is it does the outside in the first color, and it does the inside in the second color. So I've got a thickness 5 line, and then I've got my circle of yellow. You can, of course, make these the same color, and then it just looks like a nice complete circle, filled in circle. Now you might say, that's cool, I want to draw more circles. So we're going to go canvas dot draw circle. I'm going to start this one right from the middle again, but this time I want to make an even bigger one. with a thickness, just if I'm going to fill it in, I only need a thickness of 1. And let's see, what's another good color? Purple. And then I can tell it to run this, and so I should see all 4 of these things on the screen, right? So I run it. Ooh, just purple. What happened there? And hopefully I can... Come on, did I make this too big? And I can't even get to my close button anymore? Well, that's awkward. Ah, there we go. Phew. No. There we go. All right, so I made it so big that it actually took up the whole screen. So that was unfortunate. See, if it draws in the middle and draws 500 out from there, that's going to take up the whole screen. What if I did 300 instead? See, that's almost the whole screen, right? Now, what happened to my green circle? Like, I wanted a purple circle and I wanted a green circle. And what happened to my line here? Well, that line gives you a hint of what happened. And that is, you have to remember that computers work from the top down. So it drew my yellow point. It drew my teal line. It drew my green circle. And then it drew my purple circle on top of that. And so you have to think in terms almost of layers, that the first thing you tell it to draw is the first thing it draws, and things can get covered up. So I may want to move my smaller circle second so that it draws that after it draws the big circle. Then I get this effect. So now I've got my circle in the middle and my circle on the outside. So that's something that can become really important. The order that you put your things in is the order that they will get drawn in, which makes some sense if you think about it. So that is graphics in general. There's still some more different kinds of things you can do here. You can certainly play around with these. We're not going to do draw image for a little while, but you can actually get images from the web and draw them right to the screen, so you can put in creations already. This level of badge, though, is going to be about drawing some of these basic shapes, and we're going to especially focus on the polygon in the next one. So I will explain polygon then, when you actually get into the assignments and you have to draw some things. So I'm going to save that, but you can certainly look at any of these and play around with them in the documentation. I should say one quick thing about color. Colors are basically strings, and they are colors that the web can understand. So if you were to say web palette color names and get like a whole list of them, these are names that the computer understands for the internet, and so therefore they are names that you can use. So you can look up this Wikipedia article. Here are the basic 16 color names, which were defined in 1999, so you can do any of these. But there's actually a whole bunch of them that exist now. These came out in 2005, and they're supposed to work on all computers. If you know how colors are decided with red, greens, and blues, you can see the values over here. But medium spring green, so I could type over here, I want this to be medium spring green, and run it. And sure enough, that outside line there is medium spring green. So anything that you see here is a color that you're allowed to use. Indigo, dark slate blue, different kinds of whites. So it's pretty fun because you can take a look at that. So this is a different way to do colors, but for you, I would suggest you look at the just the names here and type those names in, and that's what you can make colors out of. All right, enjoy.